What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Good morning. Happy Monday. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. It's time to rise in freedom. First up at the top of the show, hashtag TwitterGate4, another drop over the weekend. A leak from Twitter details more information about the actions that led up to the platform banning former President Donald Trump following the January 6th riot in the nation's capital. We'll start that at the top of the show. Then at 7:18 this morning, we'll discuss Elon Musk called to prosecute Anthony Fauci. There are still some people out there who are critical and suspicious of Elon Musk. For me, I have to say, certified based. At 7:35 this morning, Liberty Laura joins me. Laura Langton will come on the show today. Hopefully she'll actually make it. Remember last time when she had to cancel the last minute and I was scrambling? Whew, Camellia saved my butt there that day. Well, hopefully today she'll be joining us. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about how these Facebook mom groups are just stressing moms out. And she says that she's got a really interesting take on this one that you're definitely not going to see coming. It's going to come right out of left field. We'll talk to Laura Langton this morning at 7:35 about that. Edie Vogel joins us in studio this morning at 8:09, and I'm so delighted to bring her back into the studio because I've got a new camera for my in-studio guests. What they're going to look much more beautiful. We'll bring out Edie's natural beauty. She'll be joining us this morning on the program at 8 a.m. And you'll notice no more graininess, just lots of natural beauty. And I got to say, big thank you to Tony Lavasco for the camera recommendation. I can't wait to show it to you, but we'll have to wait until she gets in studio at 8 o'clock. Thank you, Tony Lavasco, for that. And at 8:35 this morning, a former Navy SEAL who transitioned from a male to a female now says that they're detransitioning. This Navy SEAL says that they felt taken advantage of and pressured to have this life-altering surgery done on herself. Now, he wants to detransition. Sarah Higdon, transgender activist herself, will join us this morning to discuss this at 8:30. It's going to be a good show. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have ladies. We're going to have men who think they're ladies on the program. I think Sarah would be okay with me teasing her a little bit. All right, first off, at the top of the program, first of all, thank you very much for coming in. Hope you enjoyed the show this morning. I saw Chris Morrill got his Am I Being Detained t-shirt from the AP for Liberty shop. There's still time to get your orders in and to get your items before Christmas. So make sure if you're interested in buying anything from the AP for Liberty shop, remember right now we are having a discount at the shop, 15% off all holiday gear. Use the code mistletoe and you can get a 15% discount on all the AP for Liberty shop items. Also, we've got a new commercial in the show today. Make sure that you comment when you see the new commercial this morning on the live stream because you don't get anything for that, but it's just a lot of fun and you get to keep your eyes open for that. All right, let's head back to our chat and the big story of the day. The fourth installment of the Twitter files that were released over the weekend revealed new information about the actions that led up to the platform that when they banned former President Donald Trump after the January 6th riot. The first several tweets that came out were didn't offer any new information. They rehashed some of the prior releases from the Twitter files. But the fourth set that came out on Saturday night, they took place over this 4-hour period, and these tweets were showing a little bit more about the specific decision to ban President Donald Trump from Twitter, who has since been reinstated since Donald Trump took over at the time. The tweets show that Twitter's CEO Jack Dorsey was apparently on vacation when this decision went down, and that apparently, and it showed that Twitter's staff and senior executives were, quote, overwhelmingly progressive. Well, who's surprised by that? But the next several tweets after those showed that internal discussions between Yoel Roth and other Twitter employees were excited about, quote, progress that the company was making towards taking action against Trump's Twitter account. The next couple of tweets rehashed Twitter's public statement about why the company ultimately decided to ban the former president. Now, Schellenberger, who was the man who tweeted these, who got this leak and was pushing it to the public, noted that only one employee at Twitter was concerned about the ramifications that the decision could lead to a, quote, slippery slope and reflect an alternatively equally dictatorial problem. No crap. Shots also show that Yoel Roth at Twitter de-amplified, and for those of you who might be in the OK Boomer range, de-amplified just means that they brought down the reach. They just suppressed a tweet. If you de-amplify something on social media, it's like you make a post but nobody sees it, right? And I always blame, whenever I have a lousy post that nobody likes, I always blame de-amplification on it, not just that nobody gave a crap, whatever it was that I tweeted. But screenshots apparently show that Yoel Roth de-amplified terms associated with the QAnon conspiracy as well. I know some of you, like Chris Moore, are probably like, good. But at least one of the terms was not de-amplified because it was associated with other topics unrelated to the conspiracy theory. Schellenberger shared screenshots of employees discussing whether to take action against random tweets from small accounts. The interesting thing about that, and that's really what I think is of most concern here, because I've been complaining for a long time about the fact that, if I had gotten started in social media just like a week, maybe a month or a year after I got started, a number of years ago, there's no way that I would have been able to rise to at least the level of somewhat, prominence, enough prominence to have a Wikipedia page, I guess you might say. Enough prominence to have Lear Capital, the gold sponsor for my morning show podcast, at least. Enough prominence to where I could credibly run for president of the United States. Well, some say credibly, in 2016, and run for U.S. Senate in 2018. It was the power of social media. But I have long said that this de-amplification process, it's not just going to be targeted at people like Donald Trump and QAnon conspiracy theorists, because I know there are people who are watching the show this morning who are like, good, I don't like President Donald Trump, and I think that he should be banned for the things that he said. And I think that the QAnon conspiracy theorist people are crazy, and maybe they should be de-amplified. But you have to understand that once they come for those kinds of people, they're going to go after people like me, right? They're going to go after people like myself who, and I know this was a conversation in the live stream last week. People are like, well, Austin is, he's really right wing and really radical. Well, in regards to the current form of politics we have today, but I honestly feel like I bring a pretty level-headed approach. Even though I am biased, I do try and have an unbiased view of things, and I try and be a good actor in regards to politics and online. Meaning, I try not to cheat, lie, steal, defraud, defame, right? Or do a lot of the things that a lot of people do to get very famous and very popular very quickly. But it doesn't matter, because if you're not a leftist, you are a Nazi. If you are not a progressive, you are their enemy, and they will destroy you. And I mean, even for example, and I know I'm picking on Chris Morrill this morning, but Chris Morrill, you've seen what's happened to you on Facebook. Like, I've been following the little bit the drama surrounding what happens when you make casual jokes, right? If you were a leftist, the things like that wouldn't happen to you, okay? So you have to understand that, them coming for President Donald Trump is concerning, because I think it affects all of us. What do you think about that? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586 if you'd like to have your text read on air. If not, just say you don't want your text read on air. But if you'd like to support the show this morning, you can do a super chat this morning. We'd love to hear from you at our YouTube channel this morning. YouTube.com/AP for Liberty is where I'm asking all of our live stream watchers to watch us these days. I know some people prefer to watch us perhaps on Rumble or some other platform, and that's fine. But I am trying to grow the YouTube channel, because I think that really is the best place for us to grow and for us to monetize the stream as well. So again, if you want to send us a free text and have it read on air, that's 573-319-1586. But if you would like to send us a super chat, I can say that it will get read if you send it over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/AP for Liberty. Good to have you this morning. Hopefully we are going to see our buddy Squiggly Line Guy get reinstated as well. Now, there was one bright spot in all of these Twitter file dumps, and that was that there was actually one Democrat who stood up for free speech. This is Representative Ro Khanna from California, who did an interview with Maria Bartiromo.
Constitution and for our First Amendment.
Ro Khanna, I've said this many times. You are a man of integrity. Thank you for doing what you did. The entire country thanks you. What prompted you to write that note to the leadership of Twitter?
Thank you, Maria, but I don't think what I did was anything exceptional. I was just standing up for our Constitution and for our First Amendment. It is wrong to censor newspapers. It is wrong to censor journalists. Look, the New York Post hasn't written a kind thing about me in my 6 years in Congress. They're a conservative point of view paper. But that doesn't mean that you can stop publishing their pieces or articles or censor their journalists from.
Pause for just a moment. I mean, did you ever think that you would hear a Democrat in our lifetime saying something like that, that it's wrong to censor newspapers that they disagree with? This is the old school Democrat view of things, right? Free speech. He is an outlier. He is an exception in the Democratic Party, not the rule. The rule of the Democratic Party is now how progressives are behaving on Twitter.
Sharing stories. So it just offended the basic principles that our country is based on.
And those principles have been broken over the last few years. Congressman, I want to get your take on the road ahead. What do you want to see to ensure that America's freedom and liberties stay in place?
Good questions, Maria.
Well, I've said I'm open to hearings in Congress on this. Look, there are two competing values. On the one hand, we don't want censorship. We don't want to have people censored or boxed out, shadow boxed, and removed from Twitter because of their viewpoint. On the other hand, we do want respect. I mean, we don't want accounts that are filled with anti-Semitism or just spewing racism or hate on these accounts. And I think Congress should have a honest, thoughtful conversation about how we uphold both of those values.
Well, Congress can have that conversation if they please. However, Twitter, as I've said before, when it was unpopular to say, Twitter is a private platform and it can do what it wants. Coming up next, I have got so much good stuff for you today. So much good content. The next one, Elon Musk calls to prosecute Anthony Fauci. And in regards to hate speech on Twitter, this is really interesting. So Twitter, according to Elon Musk, won't censor hate speech. Wow, does that mean that we're going to start seeing the N-word trending on Twitter? Well, you'll have to see. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, it's 7:21. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Glad to have you here. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Alternatively, if you'd like to have your text read on air, you can send it to us as a super chat this morning, and we'd love to hear from you that way. Make a small donation to the program to help us stay on the air, spread liberty ideas to the public, because I am a libertarian after all. And I'm suspicious that Elon Musk is as well. Twitter owner Elon Musk appeared to call for Dr. Anthony Fauci to be brought up on criminal charges in a tweet on Sunday that also poked fun at people who post their gender pronouns. Oh man, this is some funny stuff. My lovely wife caught wind of it, saw it yesterday, and look what she made. This awesome shirt. She just took this sweater, and she also made a shirt. Check this out over at apforlibertyshop.com. My pronouns are prosecute/Fauci. She grabbed his tweet and put it on a sweater. And for those who are like, can you do something like that? Is there like a trademark copyright problem? Well, actually, she looked it up, and yes, we can. So there it is. If you want to get Elon Musk's tweet on a shirt or on a awesome hoodie, there you go. You can get it over at apforlibertyshop.com. Thank you to my beautiful, smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wife, Stephanie Peterson, for making that yesterday. Glad to have you here. Good morning, Ayan Henry, Elizabeth Press, Buddy Mansour, Quest Fanning, Dustin, all of our other friends over there on the YouTube page this morning. Glad to have you here. My pronouns are prosecute Fauci, says Elon Musk. He posted a Photoshop image of the retiring White House chief medical advisor whispering in President Biden's ear like that Lord of the Rings worm tongue guy. It says, just one more lockdown, my king. Musk later elaborated why he thought Fauci should be prosecuted, like he did. He says he lied to Congress and funded gain-of-function research that killed millions of people. Not awesome, in my opinion, he wrote on Twitter. Give it up for Anthony Fauci. I mean, can you imagine that the richest man in the world is actually on our side? And this is why I haven't just blindly jumped on to the right's anti-billionaire rhetoric, because I knew that Elon Musk, I always had a suspicion that he was on our side, even though he said that he voted for, what's his name? Andrew Yang, the guy was... Yeah, Andrew Yang. I have to say, there's a lot of hate out there for Elon Musk. But I think he's on our side. And the hate that I see for Elon Musk ranges in a few different camps. One of the camps that I see of people who claim to hate Elon Musk, they hate him because of his brain chip Neuralink. Okay, if you don't want to get the brain chip, don't get the brain chip. Some people are like, well, the government's now going to force the brain chip on us. Yeah, they might do that, and that's a problem for the government. But I mean, somebody was going to invent this technology. If an American didn't, then a Chinese person, Chinese scientist absolutely would. But let's not forget the benefits of the Neuralink technology that are the purported benefits. At least it's supposed to be stimulating deep brain activity in people who have seizures, people who are potentially could restore sight to people who are blind. Right? There are all of these medical and health benefits for people for this brain chip. If you don't want to get a brain chip, don't get a brain chip. And for the most part, the people who are alive right now are probably never going to see something like that in the first place. So I know, yes, we should, guard against the imposters of pretend patriotism for our future posterity. But the fact remains is that no one who is alive today is probably going to have to worry about brain chips. Okay. What do you think about this? Send us a text 573-319-1586. Ayan Henry says that she didn't know that Andrew Yang left the Democratic Party. Wow, we saw a big drop off of viewers there over on YouTube just because I brought up the Neuralink and the brain chip. I guess I must have offended people with that. Don't forget to like the stream as well to help it get put into other people's feeds. When you're watching on YouTube, you want to make sure that you like the show that you're watching, the video that you're watching, because that helps to recommend it to other people as well. So of the 25 people who are watching right now, if all 25 of you like the video, then that will help us to get a bigger audience, and I will be super grateful for that. You can also go over to my Twitter timeline at twitter.com/AP4Liberty and my most recent tweet over there with the YouTube channel. You can retweet that to help us to get more people in here on YouTube. At AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4, AP4Liberty. Now, another thing that people are upset about Elon Musk over when it comes to, why they don't trust Elon Musk is that some people apparently are still banned. Well, here's the thing. There are people who are being unbanned as we speak. So it's likely, or it's possible that some of these people that I'm seeing, and I'm getting a lot of emails from, like, for example, Joni this morning, and I'm not sure if this is our friend Joni Rankin over on the live stream or not, sent me this Bryson Gray character who I had never heard of before like a week ago. Apparently is someone who has not been restored on Twitter, and maybe he won't be restored on Twitter. I don't know. I really don't know much about him. He looks to be, typical, right-wing conservative troll type guy. Says that he has not been returned to the platform, and a lot of people are really angry about that. Well, here's the thing with that, and I know that some of you are not going to like this, but this is why you watch the Wake Up America show. You're going to get my viewpoint, even if I think that you're going to disagree with it. When they were banning people like ourselves, when Twitter was pushing people like ourselves out of the platform, I took a very unpopular position then with my people and said, it's a private company. It should be able to do it at once. The government should not be able to do that. The government should not be able to tell them to do that. And the government has told them to do that. And that's illegal and that's unconstitutional. If the private company decides to do it on their own, that's a separate thing, right? We know now that that's not the case, that the FBI pressured them and that, in my mind, is immoral, illegal, and unconstitutional, the trifecta there. However, the private company should be able to not have people on its platform if it wants. However, I'll say this. It appears that, I mean, this Bryson Gray character, I mean, maybe he looks like another hate-filled preacher type, but, which is not my bag, but, he ought to be able to be allowed on Twitter. I'm not a big Alex Jones fan, but he should be allowed to be on Twitter. I'm not a big, huge Donald Trumper, but he should be allowed to be on Twitter. And I think that these people are going to be restored to Twitter. Twitter revealed their new rules on their treatment of hateful speech on Saturday. Elon Musk says that people will see slur words in tweets when they follow an account that uses them. I know that there's some people out there who are like, yeah, I can't wait. He says, however, we will not amplify tweets containing slurs or hate speech, and we will not serve ads adjacent to those tweets. See, that's, in my mind, that's what it is. That's how it should be, right? And here's the thing. It's just like every argument that I've made before about not baking the cake and stuff like that. I want to know who the people are who have these views. Okay, I want them to be able to have free speech too, because I want to know who the idiots are. I want to know who the morons are, and I want to make sure that I can avoid them, and I want to differentiate myself from them. I've been reading this book called The 33 Strategies of War. The very first strategy of war is to define your enemies, meaning declare war. The first strategy in this book, it's a great book by Robert Greene, highly recommend it. The first strategy of one of the rules of war is to define who your enemy is and to declare war on them. But one of the important parts of this is whether or not you're, more of a peacenik type or whatever, it doesn't matter, because in defining who your enemies are, it helps you to define who you are. In other words, if somebody asks you to define who you are, you might have a difficult time doing that. You might have a difficult time if somebody asked you to, hey, explain to me who you are in 30 seconds or less, right? You may not have an elevator speech, or even some people, if you had 2 minutes, you wouldn't be able to do it. But that gets easier. It gets easier to define who you are when you can check the boxes of what you're not. And it's harder to know what you're against when what you're against, right, is suppressed or put behind a wall or is hidden, right? Let our enemies be out in plain sight. Let the people who have these bigoted views or want to use these terms out themselves, and we will be able to know who we are by knowing who they are even better. All right, I've got to go to commercial break. Laura just texted me. She said she's ready. Wow, we're going to have her on the show today. Glad to see it. She's going to give her view of being a mom online these days when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camellia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning. It's 7:35. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. All right. She's one of our favorite guests. It's harder and harder to get her on the show. Liberty Laura Langton joining us right now. Good morning, Laura. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Good morning. You should speak to my 2 managers. One is 3 and one is 8 months old. So
yes, well, moms play an important part in the revolution by just being moms. But quite frankly, Laura, you have skills that are in need at the front. So we're glad to have you here. Thanks so much for keeping with us and for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I saw this story yesterday and I thought to myself, this is a perfect topic for you. The research is according to the Wall Street Journal, Facebook mom groups really do stress women out. A new study links the time that mothers spend on parenting forums to the level of their cortisol. Do you want to weigh in on this?
Sure. So I have 2 kids. And when I had 1 kid, I think I used to spend a lot more time in these moms groups. And I'm not sure if the cortisol is something to do with what's going on in the groups, or if it's the fact, like, if you're at home with your kid and you're on your phone and you're not paying attention to them, they're most likely crying. So like maybe these moms are just listening to their kids cry while they scroll these mom groups, and that's causing their cortisol levels to spike. But actually, the mom groups are, they're toxic, but I think the bigger picture, what's going on in the background here, is that moms are in these groups because they don't have community. They don't have help. They don't have this village that we've always talked about. You see people retiring older and older. So these moms, if they live by them, are probably still working and they can't be there to help them. Nobody's really in church anymore, so that community is lacking. Being a stay-at-home mom even is not as common as it once used to be, and so moms are going to work, and there's a lot of stress to deal with that. And so these mom groups are a good place for information sometimes, but they're also a bad place for measuring yourself against other people.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to Laura Langton. We're talking about toxic mom groups online. So it's getting harder and harder to have the sense of community that's necessary. I mean, are you in essence saying that Hillary Clinton was right, that it takes a village to raise a child?
I don't think Hillary was right, but it does take a village to raise a child. I actually didn't read that book. I don't even really know what it's about.
Uh-huh.
But I do know that it does take more than one person to raise a child, especially in the early days, especially in the immediate postpartum days. You have to have help. And the unfortunate part is that most women don't. And when I was in this mom group, and I check it less and less just because my hands are fuller now and I don't really even have time to glance at my phone, which is kind of a good thing. But I remember when I was on them, something that I eventually realized, I was reading the comments in all these threads. How do you solve eczema? What do you do when your child won't breastfeed? How do you recover postpartum? And then I'm looking in the comments about how all of the women are managing all of these different things. And especially in the posts that were like, how do you do this every day? I'm draining. I've had 3 hours of sleep and my kids are clinging on me and my husband needs this and my house is in my, and all of the comments were like, girl, get Zoloft. And I was like, what? This was every single comment of every single thread of every single post. These moms are on antidepressants. So I looked this up. I said, are moms like drugged? And so women are twice as likely than men to be on antidepressants. White women specifically are more than twice as likely as any other demographic to be on antidepressants. Moms are on Zolofts at an increasingly high rate. And after the COVID pandemic, the rate of postpartum anxiety and depression is like 1 in 3, which is crazy.
Moms on drugs. Okay. Well, if you
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me because I mean, before Zoloft, I mean, there was kind of wine moms was kind of a thing, right? Alcohol was kind of like the go-to, but now moms are on antidepressants. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. You can also send us a super chat over on YouTube. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. It's nice to see that we're getting a larger crowd in there this morning. The show has been growing. It's very exciting. Laura, I know you started your own podcast, and I definitely want to share that with our listeners here in just a minute. But we were supposed to have you on the show a couple of weeks ago, and it was kind of a last-minute scramble. But the topic there was kind of similar to what we're talking about right now in terms of like moms kind of like bullying each other online. But I mean, have you noticed that since you became a mom that like whenever you post photos or things like that, that like you just absolutely can't do anything right as a mom now? Like you're under more scrutiny than you ever have been?
I actually have not experienced that. I think some women that complain about that are projecting. I have not encountered any sort of bullying online. I think some women go online maybe looking for a fight. Actually, the person between the two of us, my husband and I, my husband has experienced more dad bullying online than I have. He posted this picture of himself carrying the baby in one of our local Facebook groups. And he had 2 moms in there saying, excuse me, dad, I know that you're trying, but I don't think you're carrying that baby the right way. So actually, and you hear this in news too, I'm sure you've heard this before, Austin, that the people who write in about what the anchors on the news stations wear or how they speak or whatever, the people who are worse about doing that are the women. So
Right.
I think they might just be doing it to themselves. I've never experienced that personally.
I haven't experienced it personally either. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. We're talking about pressure that moms face online. I guess we're talking about moms on drugs. Is it hard to get good information though, Laura? Because one of the things that we kind of experience now in the internet era is that everybody, if you ask anybody for advice, everybody's going to tell you something completely different. And if and it's kind of like back to that bullying thing. If you don't do what they say, then it's like, oh, well, you're an idiot, you're a fool, you're going to kill your child. So, I mean, how do you find good information about how to be a mom?
Oh gosh, that's a ridiculous standard. I couldn't tell you. The best thing about having child number two, is that I learned to just kind of throw all of that out the window and say, you know what, you just hope and pray for the best. And when my first was born, my father-in-law gave the advice of rubbing the bourbon on his gums whenever he was teething. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're a horrible person. Why would I ever do that? But the other day, our second is teething. Now I turn to my husband and I go, should we rub bourbon on his gums? I'm so tired.
Bad mom.
You do
bad
what
mom.
you gotta do.
Just 10 years from now, moms will be like, just take a little Zoloft and rub it on his gums and it'll be okay.
Listen, crush it up on the countertop. They'll be fine.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Laura Lington right now. Laura and I are old friends, and she's talking to us a little bit about pressure that moms face online, as well as how to find good information online. So I guess, would you say that, with two kids as they are right now, like that there are some things that you know for sure? If you could say you absolutely know for sure, if you had any advice for moms out there who are raising their kids in the 21st century, what advice would you give?
Yeah, so the advice that I would give would be to get offline, but there is also, what is it? Ronald Reagan's three-legged stool. And he used that. You could probably tell me more about it. I'm just thinking of this now. And he used that as like a measurement to decide if he supported some sort of policy measure.
Well, it was the three-legged stool specifically was like three different types of conservatives and building like a coalition of conservatives based around certain values.
Okay, so maybe a little bit different than that. But when I'm deciding if some sort of approach or some sort of philosophy or whatever is good to apply to my kids, I try and decide first, primary, is it good for them? If it's good for them, if it promotes their happiness, their health, if 30 years from now I can say this was a good decision on their behalf, good, check. And then, okay, is this good for my mental health? There are a lot of things that I could do for my kids that would run me into the ground, and I choose to not do that because on the airplane, you have to put the airbag on yourself first before you can put it on anybody else, or else no one gets oxygen. So is it good for the kids? Is it good for me? And then is it good for our family? So is it good for the purpose of this household, our value system, where we are trying to direct ourselves? If it fits all three of those things, we can afford it. It's reasonable. We did sleep training, for example, is one of those things. I said, he's going to sleep. He's old enough to learn how to sleep on his own. He's okay. I need this too. Our family needs this too. It's a good thing.
There you go. Anything else that you think our listeners should know before we let you go, Laura?
Yeah, well, you mentioned my podcast. My husband and I started a podcast, and we do talk about parenting a lot on it. It's called Free State Podcast because we're out of Lawrence, Kansas, and it's available on all your favorite streaming services. I worked in Congress. He studies administrative law. We come home, put the kids to bed at the end of the day, sit on the couch and hit record, and we talk about politics, culture, and parenting. So if any three of those things apply to you, we probably cover it and you'll find something you'll like.
All right. That's Laura Lington. She is the editor and producer of the Free State Podcast, and she's a terrific mom and a great lover of freedom. Thank you very much, Laura, for your time today. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much. What did you think of Liberty Laura? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. All right, well, I've been monitoring the chat, and I see that I guess he was an old friend, and he hates me now. Brian Lofel, hashtag MS Awareness, over in the chat this morning. He says that I sold my soul. Well, Brian, you got a bone to pick with me. Why don't you call into the show? I'll put you on air, and you can tell me everything that you dislike about me, and you can broadcast it. Say whatever you like. Give me a call during the commercial break. I'm going to go to commercials. The phone number is 573-319-1586. Brian, I want to give you the floor and tell my audience why you despise me. 573-319-1586 is the phone number. I'll type it in the YouTube chat. I want to give you a chance to air your beef with me so that you can get it out there and, have a chance to do that. So give us a call, 573-319-1586. I'll put you on the line. I'll put you on hold. Then when we come back, I'll put you on air. Sound good, Brian? Okay. We'll be back with more. The Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911?
Good morning, it's 7:50. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Joining me in studio, my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson. Good morning. Nice to see you, Steffi. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us. She had to bring me my camera batteries because I forgot them at home. She's Tim pulling it today. Everybody give Stephanie a round of applause, and thank you so much for coming in. You look beautiful, Stephanie. Nice to see you. We're going to talk to somebody, Stephanie, who is not a big fan.
Yes, this is going to be very interesting.
This is going to be very interesting. So the gentleman who was in the chat this morning says, I sold my soul, is joining us now. Brian Leffel. Brian, how do I, first of all, welcome to the show, and how do I pronounce your last name?
Brian.
Thanks. Leffel.
Luffel, Brian. Okay, so you said you came in this morning. You're very upset at what has happened to me. You say I've sold my soul. Make your case.
When he was a Republican, I think he was trying to get to a party where he could try to get the nomination, which he did, but another conversation. But here's what I find difficult. And before I was, big in the Libertarian Party, I used to be a Republican. I say that right off the bat. I just don't like where the Republican Party has gone in the last, say, 6 years, ever since Trump came, to that party. I think they've strayed from what, their values.
Okay, well, so when you say, that you specifically that I've sold my soul, is it simply because I've aligned myself with the Republican Party, or has there been like a policy change of mine that you've noted that you believe that it has contributed to my falling away from libertarianism?
Well, I think with where you align with the Republican Party, and like I was saying, they're not they used to be, even 10 years ago, and I used to be listening. It was one of those where I voted straight down the Republican, I'm a veteran. I love them, and still, even with what has happened in the last, even say, year, with how the Republicans, how I've seen them treat veterans, I like it. Especially the PACT Act, how they talked against the veterans about that, really struck a chord with me. So I guess you can see that's where I don't want to use hatred. I know you said hate. I could have said hate. That's a strong word. I don't like to use that, especially the way it is right now. And hey, I'm human. I make mistakes. I can tell you I've gotten heated and gone way too far with comments. And I'll be the first to admit that. Hey, I'm human. We all make mistakes.
Sure. Well, I guess maybe what I would invite you to consider, perhaps, Brian, is that the parties are merely tools or vehicles to advance ideas and candidates, right? And that it's not necessarily indicative of one's moral character with what party they align with, unless they're Democrats. All right, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding. Go ahead, Brian.
I can say, you probably think I'm a little left now, but he's Sanders, far left. Now I'll put that out right now.
Well, what's your opinion?
They're not perfect.
If being a Republican is kind of like your measurement for like necessarily selling your soul, I know you say those are kind of strong words now, but I guess my question to you, Brian, is I mean, what do you think about people like Senator Rand Paul or Mike Lee, for example? I mean, Thomas Massey. I mean, these are Republicans. Justin Amash was a Republican. I mean, there are a lot of
he went into the Libertarian Party.
right. So I mean, like, isn't it less about party and more about the principles that the person in the party holds?
Would never break them, whatever. It's like, what does Trump have on these people that they're afraid to now talk against him when they were freely doing that? He even said he would never become president, but all of a sudden he became president, and they did a complete 180 on him.
Well, I think, I can understand your concerns there. There's a lot of things that Donald Trump does and says that I don't agree with. And, I'm one of the people in the Republican Party who calls him out when I disagree with him, especially, what he said about, how we need to throw out the Constitution a couple of weeks ago. I completely disagree with him on that. And, there's not a lot of Republicans who are willing to do that, Brian. So, I mean, not just trying to kind of like, make myself look better here. But I mean, the fact is, Brian, is that I think what you should consider is that you should really look at the policies that someone espouses versus the letter after their name. Because here's the thing. I didn't like a lot of what Gary Johnson said or did, but I supported him in 2016. I said I would support him, and I kept my word, despite the fact that he did a lot of things that I didn't, that he did a lot of things that I didn't agree with. I thought he made us look very foolish. When you're in politics, tribalism is sort of the norm. When you join a team, you should see it through, and you should fight the battle. When you join it's like playing a game. You get in there, you fight the game, and see it through till its end. After the game is over, you may go work for some other team. You may quit the Kansas City Chiefs and go work for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's your own decision. But I've joined the Republican Party, and I'm fighting for the Republican Party, and I voted for Donald Trump because I said that I would, and because I justified it with the fact that Trump did more libertarian things than any president since Calvin Coolidge. And I can back that up with a PDF file that has a long list of libertarian accomplishments that Donald Trump did. And the simple fact is, for libertarians, we have had zero policy accomplishments on the national stage until Donald Trump came along. You have to sort of, with Donald Trump, you have to take the good and you have to take the bad. And that's unfortunate. But these are kind of like the political realities that we live in. Brian, I want to compliment you for a moment and just say that, you came in here this morning to the chat and you were stirring things up and saying a lot of unkind things. But I want to pat you on the back and say, you're very brave for calling in this morning and saying what you have to say. I appreciate that.
A lot of people just hide behind the computer screen.
Yeah.
And they never actually face people.
Yeah, you're not a keyboard warrior, Brian. You've got a spine, and we appreciate that.
The liberal and the fiscal conservative.
So am I.
The liberal. I mean, whoever wants to marry, let them marry.
That's
right.
Whoever they want happy. If they're not hurting, whatever. Do I think some of that stuff goes way overboard? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Brian, I think we're all a lot.
we got to find that happy
different.
medium again.
Yeah, I agree. Brian, I want to ask you a favor, man. I'd like to ask you to come back. Stick around with us this morning on the show, and I'd like you to ask you to come back and join us with the rest of the Cantina crew and watch the morning show and hang out with us in the live stream more often. I think that if you listen to the show more often and hear what I have to say, I think you'll like what you hear here.
Oh, I will.
Okay.
Great.
Brian, you're a good man. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate you coming on and saying what you have to say. You have a wonderful day, okay? Thank you, Brian. Well, wow, what did you think of that? Boy, there you go. You can, you turn your haters into...
Yeah, I mean, he has some big cojones there.
I agree. He was talking some mad smack. I was too, actually. I know. Well, it's tough when you go on somebody's their own show because everybody's going to throw tomatoes at you. And they kind of were this morning. But, there's this old Abraham Lincoln quote. Maybe it's a fake quote, but I'm going to attribute it to him anyway. But I think Abraham Lincoln once said, "Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?"
That's right. Kill them with kindness.
Yeah. That's kind of my approach now these days. So I've learned my lesson.
Let's listen.
Just be a good listener.
So you'll find that you're more on the same page than you think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we all learned something from that today, don't you? Yeah, what do you think? Send us a text 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. All right, everybody, we got to say goodbye to Steffi. Stephanie, thank you for coming on today. Yep. Yeah, lovely Edie Vogel is going to be joining us. We're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back with Edie Vogel to talk about artificial wombs and brain implants when we get back. Science stuff when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Bye, Steffi. Bye. See you later.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camelia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. Happy Monday. It's 8:04. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. And joining us in studio, live, in person, and looking fantabulous, Edie Vogel. Good morning, Edie.
Those are nice compliments to be paying this early morning.
Nice to see you today.
You know, usually you have me a little bit earlier, and I thought, I'm not a morning person to begin with.
Yeah.
But all the time that we were on the radio, it was always early enough that I could zip through town, really quick. Man, we got a traffic jam in Jefferson City at this time of day,
Yeah.
So,
when it's a little later?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll remember that.
No, you don't. It's okay, but we people that don't get up in the morning, it's a rude awakening to know that there's another life besides after 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning.
You can send us a text today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, so let's get this story. I read this yesterday, and I thought, boy, Edie, you'd be a good person to talk about. Being a Catholic especially, you want to bring your ethics into this one.
Okay.
This is Ecto Life is a company that has created this concept for the world's first artificial womb facility. All right. Okay. All right. So essentially, the idea, is that in order to like have designer babies, this is what the first step of this. In order to create designer babies, we're going to have these.
Sorry, I can't help it.
No, it's okay. Right. So the idea is that one day it might even supplant traditional birth, right? Society would finally be able to meet the needs of parents who are tired of waiting for a response from an adoption agency and those who are worried about pregnancy complications. But it could also help us to confront the infertility crisis head on, right? Because our population is declining here in this country, Edie.
Well,
help us to have more babies. Go ahead.
I don't think it's due to infertility problems. It's due to the choice of the woman who, first of all, sets out and gets pregnant, whether she wanted to or she didn't. She needs to be thinking on her feet and maybe other parts of her body to be knowing that if you're going to do the act, you must be prepared for the consequences, and that's a baby, okay? And to not always have that in your thought process that you don't want life and then it happens, and then you're mad, and then you kill it. You're not gonna get me to change my mind on that.
So okay, I get this. I get it. So here's the thing. So the idea is that, you know,
And I'm not being
are you
hostile.
no,
I'm
I'm
just
no,
I'm
no,
just
I
trying
get
to
it. It's fine. Question. No, I know. Well, here's the thing. This is going to be an ethical problem we're going to have to debate. So
Yeah.
so
Hopefully, I'll be.
what are your thoughts on in vitro fertilization?
It's from a religious standpoint, and my background is a Roman Catholic. I can't. I'm not for it.
Really? You're against in vitro fertilization?
It's wrong.
So, but I mean, but if parents are having trouble conceiving,
Well, that's. I'm gonna
why is it wrong?
play a Todd Atkins here and
No,
say,
an Aiken. You're going to pull an Aiken?
yeah,
Todd
you
Aiken?
know,
Not a
we're
Clay
not gonna
Aiken.
talk, or whatever his name was.
Clay Aiken?
No, the guy who
American
ran for
Idol winner?
Senate against McCaskill and got.
Todd Aiken.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's hear it.
Well,
Pull your Aiken.
because again, Austin, you always give me the questions that I have to answer to you and whoever wants to listen from my heart and my religious upbringing.
Mhm.
Okay, right or wrong, that's me.
I get it.
That's and I'm not trying to be defensive.
But
about it,
I guess my
but
question
that's
is,
the way I believe.
but why? I mean, the Bible doesn't talk
I-
about in vitro fertilization.
No, but
Who told you
but
that in vitro?
natural law does.
But here's
Natural law that God.
but humans are natural.
Well,
Are we
but-
not natural?
But there's
Hold on. Let me say my piece now. The problem with like saying that it's unnatural.
break.
Okay, get Steph.
Plenty of booze.
You're gonna have to go get some alcohol back there for Edie. Pour. What do you put in rum and some Coca-Cola?
Rum. We'd have to get some fine.
What would you put in? Oh, some rye whiskey.
Some rye whiskey.
Okay.
Last night I had a cocktail.
What about Southern Comfort?
And no, too sweet. And I always kind of try to emulate my father and what he drank. And he's been gone for so long. And his favorites were Old Charter. And I remember the other day, I mean, now we're way off subject. 1843, David Nicholson, 1843, which I bought a bottle of that the other day. And last night I thought, I'm just going to have a cocktail tonight.
I love Jesus, but I drink low.
Best way to do it. And then if you're at least you don't have to worry about getting to the car and you know, you just flop into bed and home and you're okay.
Fiery, yeah. Let's get back to the subject.
Right.
Fiery Waco
Off the
over on the
subject.
live stream this morning says that we need more citizens for Capital City. You can send us a text this morning at 573-319-1586. All right. So here's the thing: in vitro fertilization, right? The Bible doesn't specifically ban it, doesn't talk about it. But here's what I think is.
I know it's not in there.
Here's what I think is the problem with like the arguments that it's unnatural. That is to argue that humans are not a part of nature, right? And that what humans do is part of nature. This is kind of what liberals do when they talk about humans creating garbage, and they're like, "Oh, we're destroying the planet, and humans are a plague on this earth." Because what liberals are making a mistake there is that they are arguing that humans are not a part of nature. Maybe humans are a part of nature, and so but here's the thing: if humans created in vitro fertilization, then by proxy that makes in vitro fertilization a part of nature because we, as a part of nature, are the ones who developed that. Does that make sense?
Well, now let's go back to your part about humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Scientists
Mm-hmm.
and scientists had to be inspired by
Mm-hmm.
the scientific world
Mm-hmm.
in order to want to pursue the in vitro fertilization procedure
Mm-hmm.
outside of nature.
Right.
Okay. So I don't know if you're asking me if I condemn that part of scientific knowledge, which I can't because the God gave the ability to be creative to individual souls, minds. So you can't condemn that because it was a gift that was created by the Creator
Mhm.
in order for the humans to take the talent that God gave them. Now, whether they're doing it the right way, that's a question.
Well, here's
of
now I'm gonna blow your mind, and I'm gonna
Oh, yeah, you're
I'm
gonna-
gonna
yeah.
blow your mind now. I'm gonna throw something else in the mix for you. When it comes to artificial wombs, one of the things that I'm really excited about with this technology is that it can. I think it will help reduce abortions, and the reason why is because I think that mothers who are absolutely intent on killing their babies
Uh-huh.
will now have a new opportunity to to have their child survive because they can say, I'm going to evacuate this child, and you can either save this life or you can allow it to die. Because that's what a lot of the abortionists are arguing, right? So now people like yourself and myself in the future who don't want to see abortion, who want to save those lives, can now say, we understand. It's kind of like they're basically have a hostage, essentially, right? So people like yourself, the pregnant lady has a hostage, which is the child.
Okay.
They're threatening to murder the hostage.
Okay.
The artificial womb is now an opportunity. We'll say, listen, don't kill the baby. Let us take the hostage. We will put the child in an artificial womb and rear it until it is. I mean, it's kind of like, isn't now? See, I knew I was going to blow your mind on that.
But
yeah,
you've punched a button because in our belief cycle there are and I will say human men and probably women also that are appointed by the church, our church, the Catholic Church, to study those kind of things that we're talking about today. I can't think of all the college terms for them, but you've kind of.
I have thrown a monkey wrench into it, right?
You have.
I knew that was going to do that to you. I was going to do that to you today.
Would I be allowed in your mind?
How dare you
to be able to give the church the time to study what the scientific world? I mean, now I'm throwing out.
Well, I mean, that's not
my
up to
feeling
me.
about it.
Right. Well, that's not up to me.
No, but my feeling about it. I would give the church doctors. The brains in that world of, I think it's
of medicine
and ethics, and let them study what you have presented to me.
Yeah, because that was always what my first thought was when I first heard the artificial womb, because it already exists, not for humans, but it exists for animals.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. Or have they? I know that they're pursuing that in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, so they've already done this in sheep. They've been able to, because
Dolly wasn't that?
No, that was a clone.
Oh, okay.
So
there is a difference.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So the clones can be like in vitro fertilization. So here's the thing. What's fascinating now is that once you take the sperm and the egg and you remove them from the father and the host father and the host mother, you can entirely incubate the baby outside of the mother without the child ever having to be inside the mother's wombs. Now, what kind of repercussions or ramifications that might have on the psychology, on the mental well-being of that child, I think that is a huge ethical question that needs to be asked. But my immediate first thought when I heard about this is that this is going to save lives, because think about like babies who are born in the first trimester and who don't get a shot at life because the type of incubation chambers.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Right. They can't survive. Well, an artificial womb might save their lives, because I mean, how many people have we known personally that we've seen that have had, stillbirths and stuff, and the premature children, and they couldn't survive? My thinking was, okay, well, first of all, these children could be saved from the premature births. But then my second thought was that this could save the lives of children who might have been aborted if the mother had an option. A doctor could say, you can't, I'm not going to help you kill your child, but we will take your child from you and we will raise it and we will, put it in an artificial womb and we will allow that child to live. I mean, I think that that's a miracle. Essentially, using your terminology,
and it's okay because I'm going to say that I'm not having closed the door on it, but the first initial shock I had when you started talking about it,
you were initially
the Catholic genes clicked in.
Right.
Okay, the Catholic background clicks in. So, and that's probably a characteristic of me, not be willing to sit and listen to someone else, which I can do and I can comprehend it, but it's not it's not like you're talking to Einstein here.
No, I know.
But that's me. That's just me.
Well,
that's my persona.
Well, here's the thing. Why do you think we keep bringing you back, Edie?
Well,
do you think we bring you back because you're Einstein, or because we like you for who you are?
But I can I can accept our conversation this morning and walk out the door and not be upset about it.
Well, that's actually what separates you from a lot of conservatives, to be quite honest, is that you don't get triggered.
Well, I just the initial shock of what you had to say was, no, like I just said, no.
Well, now I've got another topic for you that's going to shock and awe.
Okay.
The question is, what is the true meaning of death? Brain death?
Ooh.
Physical death? And the reason why this is important is because we're going to talk about, things like when is it okay to do organ donation and all that stuff. Families have been speaking out about this topic. We're going to talk about that. So we've talked about birth and life, and now we're going to talk about death when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camelia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. LibertyShop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting Liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. It's 8:22. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. That's me, AP. I'm joined in studio by my good friend, Edie Vogel. Nice to see you, Edie.
Good to see you today.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Glad that you're feeling better from last week.
Yes, I am. I got some steroids, baby. I got that roid rage.
That'll cure anything.
Oh, yeah. We love it. Edie, glad to have you here. Our friend Brian this morning sent us a super chat. He wanted me to ask you what your thoughts are on Viagra, since we heard your thoughts on in vitro.
Oh, my God.
Well, what are your thoughts on Viagra?
Oh, it's another no. You know how I'm going to answer some of that stuff. Austin, come on. You know.
Why are you gay?
Oh my God! I know you're like.
How dare you?
Yeah, how
Oh,
dare
God.
you?
How
How dare you ask me those
How
ignorant ass
dare you?
questions?
How dare you? How dare you? Glad to have you here. Thank you for the super chat, Brian. We appreciate you very much. If you want to support the show, you can send us a super chat and we'll read your question on air, even if it's
That's
ridiculous.
that's something new. To
People
me.
make like
Okay.
it's basically people like make a little donation to the show and then their chat get like blows up and is highlighted and we read it on air. So
All right.
you can send us a text too for free at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Edie, the meaning of death. Doctors and lawyers debate the meaning of death as families challenge practices. Changing the determination of brain death potentially affects organ donation. Okay, so let's set this up. How doctors are determining death is up for debate. For more than 4 decades, death in the United States has been determined in 2 main ways. Life ends when the heart and lungs stop working, or physicians might declare a person brain dead, and that's defined as the irreversible cessation of all brain function, even if the heart and lungs can be maintained with machines. So a group of lawyers, including neurologists and philosophers, met this last week to discuss revisions to the determination of what is death. The group is talking about updating policies surrounding the notification of families about the process for determining death. So the question is whether or not the states will adopt these recommendations that are from this panel. The concept of brain death has generated a lot of controversy in recent years because death isn't only a medical determination, as I'm sure that you would agree. People bring very deeply held beliefs to their understanding of death. Declaring someone dead has social and legal ramifications, including for mourning, inheritance, and organ donation. So in all 50 states, brain death is a legal designation, but how it's determined is now what is up for debate. Do you have any, from your spiritual side of things, Edie, in terms of death? Do you have a particular view of organ donation and of what constitutes death in your mind?
Well, you've opened up Pandora's
We
box
are
here.
from birth to death, womb to tomb
Womb to
today.
tomb. Okay. My experience 50 years of being a licensed practical nurse, which I spent the majority of those 50 years working in long-term care, which meant that I took care of the elderly. And in those situations, Austin, the people that I took care of were in their end stages of their life, okay? And some were still very vibrant in regards to them being placed in long-term care to still function well, okay? Enough that they could get up a little bit on their own to get dressed and go to the meals and interact with their family, interact with the staff, and things of that nature. The second part of that job was to care for the people that were really close to death and they needed care by someone besides their family. So they're placed in the long-term care facility to be taken care of like a baby, okay? So myself and my staff, our responsibility was to give them the dignity and the care that they deserved in the last few years or months or days or time of their existence as souls on earth, okay? And you're going to get a little humor out of me now, because as my responsibility as being a charge nurse, when someone passed away, and you got to remember, we're in a facility where there's no doctor there. There's just a couple of us nurses and the RNs or the LPNs, and then the rest of the staff. So when someone is near that, and there's a lot of folks died without any family with them. So it's my responsibility as the charge nurse to make sure that those last moments that we could see with our naked eye and hear with our ears and feel and sense, that they're comfortable. And, you get into you just learn that's just part of your job. And so my humorous part is going to tell you that one time a patient did die, okay? And I had to call the funeral home in Mexico, Missouri to come and get this patient. And the shift change was occurring. So the next shift was coming on, the midnight shift, and we give report and say, so-and-so is passed away. They're waiting for the undertaker to come pick them up. Now, this is a true story.
I'm listening. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So the patient you prepare the body the best you can for the undertaker to come and get the body. The night shift is coming on. They go in and they are nosy and they want to see, what's going on also. So all of a sudden, the nurse aide comes screaming out of the room where the deceased person is saying, Miss Vogel, you got to come down here. They've got to come. I said, we're waiting for what do you want? They said, that person, and they were white as a ghost. And I'm not kidding you. And I walked down there and the patient was still breathing. Okay.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no.
There was definitely signs of chest going up and down. So I looked at the person on the night shift coming in. I said, what did you do?
God.
And I kind of shifted them around in bed because I didn't like the way they were laying in the bed. Well, and it happened. The person started breathing again. This is a true story, Austin. Okay.
Oh my God.
Emotional damage.
So I said, I had to make a decision. What in the hell am I going to do? I could lose my job over this,
Oh my God.
So
Because you had declared them dead.
That's right. And the undertaker's on its way. So you call the administrator. And at that time, he was some young, inexperienced guy who I had probably 30 years of age on him in his life experiences. And he just kind of starts laughing. He says, "You making a joke, Miss?" I said, "No, Miss Vogel's not making a joke. This person, I don't know what the deal is."
Wild.
Yeah.
This is wild.
She came back to life. Okay.
Oh my God. All right. Well,
So anyway, so your point about I've been through it all. And the next part of the funny chapter is working as a prison nurse. First night on the job, an inmate is murdered, and my coworker nurse is doing CPR on this murdered inmate laying on the floor at the Missouri State Penitentiary. So I'm standing there, and this is after the experience of dead people. And I say to her, I said, "I don't know what you're doing, but that guy is dead. D-E-A-D. He doesn't need CPR." And so he says, "You got me on the right subject here of death and dying." Okay.
I guess we do. All right. Well, we'll have to revisit this. My friend who is
I know your question was serious.
No, it's
I don't mean to bring the humor to it.
No,
but
I love it.
I can't.
It's Monday morning. We need to laugh.
I can't help it.
Too serious of a topic.
Okay,
all right, we are gonna go to a more serious topic. My friend Sarah Higdon, the Catholic transgender veteran, she's joining us. There's a Navy SEAL who announced that she's now detransitioning. Says that she felt taken advantage of. She was pressured to change her gender. Now she's changing back. Former Navy SEAL. Sarah Higdon's going to talk to us about that.
I'm going to be mixed up. I'll keep my mouth shut.
No, you can weigh in all you want. You can weigh in as well by sending us a text at 573-319 1586. We'll be right back with more fun on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho!
Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Still joined in studio by the lovely Edie Vogel. Edie, nice to see you. Thanks for sticking around with us today.
It's always fun.
That was an awesome story, by the way.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I know you. I know I got you off of what you really wanted to ask me.
It's okay.
But you can come back to that, and I
never sacrifice entertainment value for news. Let's get to the news, though. A retired Navy SEAL who became famous nearly 10 years ago after coming out as transgender announced that he is detransitioning and called on Americans to, quote, wake up about how transgender health services are hurting children. Joining me now to discuss is a transgender individual herself, Sarah Higdon, who's joining us now on camera. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Austin. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So would you like to set up this story for our audience?
Yeah, so if the audience doesn't know, so Chris Beck, I don't know what I just call Chris Chief. That's what most people just call him. And was going by Kristen Beck for a long time. I think transitioned to Kristen Beck in like the early 2013, 2012 timeframe. And yeah, former Navy SEAL, has testified in front of Congress, was actually very popular around that time. I remember first seeing Chris and almost being I saw Chris as an inspiration, because it was kind of like you see yourself and you see somebody else stepping out of the mold and doing something. I wouldn't say that Chris's transition had anything to do with my transition, because I don't want people to think that and I don't ever want Chris to think that helped me transition, but Chris was always a great person. I still admire him for what he's doing now. You know, it takes a lot of guts, because for the last 4 or 5 years, Chris has kind of been out of the limelight until he did a Rogan interview about 2 months ago. Kind of been out of the limelight and just living life, helping veterans. And so now we've talked about it behind the scenes, and there's just a need for people to come out there and speak about what's happening. And if Chris is saying that he felt pressured into this because he was getting CNN interviews, he was getting all this media attention, if he felt pressured into this, then just think about what happens to children when they're getting pressured into this.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to transgender, veteran, Catholic, and liberty activist Sarah Higdon right now on the line. I'm also
got liberty.
Yeah, got liberty. Nice shirt there, Sarah. We're also joined in studio by my friend Edie Vogel. She is a Catholic conservative, and she's an activist herself, and she's active in local politics, as well as a former town councilwoman here from Jefferson City, Missouri. We're talking about a former Navy SEAL, a veteran, who by the name of Chris. What's Chris's last name? I'm sorry, Sarah.
Beck. Chris Beck.
Chris Beck, who had transitioned to female, and now is announced they're detransitioning back to male. What was, I think, interesting in this story was that Chris had talked about all of the pressure that was put on him to transition in the first place. Can you talk about that, Sarah?
So yeah, I know he had done a lot. Like I said, he testified in front of Congress. He had CNN interviews. He said a lot of people had been kind of pushing him towards this. He got a book deal. So the book is Lady Valor. He had a documentary made about him, which I think was Lady Valor as well. And so very popular, like the first really popular person to come out as trans. And the fact that he was this big, brawny Navy SEAL made it even bigger of a story. This big masculine dude coming out as trans was huge. And then I know Chris had some activism, and I disagreed with some of his activism because he disagreed completely with the Trump trans ban and everything like that. And there was a lot of very much activists and so some points in times I've always seen Chris as being more on the left of things. And it seems like over the years, he's become very much a libertarian mindset, kind of being red pilled because now he's seeing what's been taking place behind the scenes. And I do know that Chris stopped taking stopped taking estrogen about 7 years ago. And it said that in the story as well. And I know because he was having health complications because of it. And so it wasn't working for him. So he still was trans, but was not taking testosterone or estrogen because it was not good for his body.
We're talking to Sarah Higdon. She's a transgender Catholic military veteran herself. And we're talking about Navy SEAL who's now announced that she felt pressured to transgender. I guess it's Sarah, it's hard for me to get the pronouns right sometimes on this one, because when someone announces that they're detransitioning, then do we refer to them by their masculine pronouns, right? So I mean, so it's Chris now.
Yeah, and so I think that's why I said I've not talked to Chris lately. I know I'm having a hard time as well, even just having this conversation, because I've never really known him. I've only known him as Kristen,
Right.
and as she, and so like I said, this kind of caught me for a loop because like I said, I didn't see this coming. Because Chris, he's always been this big advocate. Like I said, we've had conversations behind the scenes, just a couple of times. He said he's told me before that he's a fan of my work, so it's really interesting, and I'm glad somebody like Chris is speaking out, because somebody who had that much influence early on in the shift to this trans movement is able to come back and say, wait a second, this is what's really going on. This is what happened to me. And you guys saw it all happen. This is the first person that you've seen it happen in front of your eyes, that they came out, they transitioned, like literally went from one day, and the Rogan interview is great, went from one day working at the Pentagon, as Chris, and then just the next day walking in a dress and heels, wearing a wig, and as Kristen. And it was like, but even the story, I didn't even know, like the story said, even with the VA doctors, after like a 30-minute interview, were like, yeah, you're probably trans, here's the hormones, type thing, which I agree with informed consent for adults, but you have to be informed, not like this might, as a person, you should still be going and getting the mental evaluations and stuff like that, the personal responsibility of that. But at the end of the day, it's like, I can't believe the VA did it back in 2013 before it was even allowed
How
in
can
the
you not
military.
believe that? I wasn't even in the military, and I can totally believe that the VA could do that. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm speaking to Sarah Higdon, and in studio we're also joined by Edie Vogel. This is a fascinating conversation about a transgender Navy SEAL who's now detransitioning, and talking about how they were pressured to transition in the first place. Sarah, as someone, you recently transitioned yourself, so made the
2019.
actual surgical transition. So,
last year.
but I'd like to talk about detransitioning, because I imagine you probably did a little bit of research on that. What is the process now that Chris essentially is going to have to undergo in order to detransition?
Well, like I said earlier, for Chris, it's not probably going to be a lot, because like I said, Chris hasn't been on estrogen for 7 years. I don't think he went through with full surgery or anything like that. So it's really just kind of changing his name back, and then switching back into, living however he wants. I assume he's still going to live pretty similar life to what he's living right now, but I know this could.
So if that's the case,
This
then
could
it's
actually
not
be-
as it would not be as difficult as someone like for yourself who has made a much more permanent sort of a change.
No, if I was to go and detransition, I would actually have to be on testosterone supplements for the rest of my life, because my body doesn't naturally produce testosterone anymore. Where Chris's would, if you've had the surgery, then it's the same with a young female that's had a hysterectomy. Their body's not going to produce estrogen anymore, the same way. So they would have to take estrogen supplements for the rest of their lives if they detransition.
Wow, that's boy, that's quite chilling, to hear something like that. It must, and you knew that full well going into your transition, Sarah. I mean, it must have been quite frightening, because I mean, in essence, what you've done, is permanent, right?
Absolutely. And that's the other, it's absolutely permanent. I mean, because that's one thing that's becoming an issue is, we're getting these kids so young, transitioning them so young, that their bodies are already permanently altered. So it's like big pharma gets money up front, and then they get money for the rest of their lives after they've even realized after they've made these, this mistake, and it shouldn't have happened. But they're paying money to detransition. They're probably going to be on big pharma, patient for the rest of their lives. And I do want to mention with Chris though too, you got to remember, again, coming out in like 2012, 2013, it wasn't this big thing, and so there wasn't as much information about this as there is now. We live in an age where you can Google what happens with transition. I mean, even Chris would almost be like an experiment. Like their transition was very much experimental at the time, because it wasn't until about 2016 that it really spiked. And so now, like I said, for him to be coming out, I don't blame him at all for, what he's doing. I'm actually, like I said, I'm proud that he's out here speaking with us, like all the detransitioners that we see, like Chloe Cole and stuff like that are speaking out as well. And I'm we have a lot of those on our team, like over at Trans Against Groomers, and Gays Against Groomers. They're all on our team. I mean, we have detransitioners that are working, specifically with us. And because the issue is that the problem with a lot of the trans community on the left is once you detransition, they write you off and they push you away, as to where they still need medical care just the same way as everybody else. And, just because they've detransitioned doesn't mean that their dysphoria stops or anything like that. So we still have to take care of these, detransitioners, and we still have to listen to them, because they tell a story. They tell the other side of the story that
the left wants
nobody's
to suppress
hearing.
them for sure. Sarah,
Yep.
this is probably a really difficult question here, but one of our listeners did send it in and asked, does Sarah have any regrets?
No, I mean, I don't have any regrets at this point in time. Absolutely not. And that's not even a question. Yeah, I am fully happy with my transition at this point in time. It scares me to see some people come out 7-8 years later, though. I don't think I was manipulated into anything, but it's like 8 years down the road, could I possibly feel differently? At this point in time, I don't think so. I think but it's a possibility. But I don't think so.
That's scary. Sarah, you're very brave to come out here and talk like that about your personal experiences in this. We appreciate you very much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate you as well.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners before we let you go?
Right now, just watch. I got some news coming up in the next couple of days. Got some events coming up in Wisconsin in January, events in Pennsylvania in March, and I got some just speaking events for the next year. And just follow me. Go to my website, sarahhigdon.com. You can go to my Twitter and Instagram, which are both sarahhigdon_. And you can find all my stuff there, and just watch for some of the events that I'm doing around the country.
We'll do that. Sarah Higdon, Catholic, transgender, military, former military, and friend of the show. Sarah, thank you for your time today. We appreciate your courage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All right.
you.
We're going to transition now. We're going to lighten things up a little bit. Edie, do you hear that little disco tune playing there in the background? You know what that means?
It's what time is it? I know.
It's time for us. It's time.
Commercial break.
Yes, it's time for us to talk about gold.
Oh, well, I got lots of
The
gold.
benefits. Oh, you do? Oh, really?
I wear my gold.
Oh, okay, I see.
I wear my gold.
Right.
I don't have it in the safe deposit box.
We're going to talk now about the benefits of gold and silver, and my sponsor, Lear Capital, over at learaustin.com. Since we've got a lot of people's attention right now, actually, an amazing topic, boy, we're going to talk now about why I believe in gold and silver. I have benefited directly from my investments that I've made in gold. Some of you have heard this story before, maybe you haven't, but I'll tell you that when Ron Paul told me in 2007 to buy gold, I listened to what Ron Paul had to say, and I bought gold. And I think I bought it at like $700 or $800 an ounce. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a smart decision. And I bought the gold, and then you know what happened in 2007? The economy tanked.
Right, but you still had your
But
gold.
I had my gold, baby.
That's
Yes,
right.
I did. And it was a couple of years later, Edie, that I got a job. I was working in D.C., and I got a job in New York working for Fox News. Now, Fox News doesn't pay for you to move. They won't pay your expenses. And I was a poor, broke, up and coming Politico at the time. And so I said to myself, I had my gold.
That's right.
Yes.
So it can help you.
It can help you to
transfer
if there's ever an emergency in
Yeah,
your life.
yeah.
That's the nice thing about gold, is that it can hold value and actually increase in value over time. I think the value of my gold went from $700 an ounce to like $1,200 or $1,300 an ounce in that period of time.
What's it at right now? Do you know what the
Great question.
Yeah.
Value of gold spot now. Let's take a look. Gold spot price, $1,804. If I'd held it, it would have more than doubled, but I needed to move back to New York and I needed money. I was young. I needed the money.
So I know but you're talking about a gold market that is nothing but transference of assets. If you have them in gold, you deal with them as in like a stock market.
Well,
right?
so you can do a Roth IRA, a gold IRA through Lear Capital, or you can actually just purchase gold and silver coins. And that's what I want to recommend for my audience. If you're interested, go to my website, learaustin.com. That's LEARAUSTIN.com. Or call 1-800-885-2175. See that number that's up there on the screen right now? 1-800-885-2175. Write that down. Or write down the website, learaustin.com. If you use that website or you call that phone line, they will help you out and I will get credit for it, and they will continue to sponsor the show so that you can get more content like this. So if you want to hedge your bets against future inflation, which we know the Fed's going to do, and the growth and the value and the portfolio strength that you get from gold, make sure that you visit my friends Lear Capital, learcapital.com, and we'll be back with one more, a goodbye with Edie, when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks, need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
Hey, we're coming back early from the commercials because we're just having this awesome conversation off air that needs to happen on air. Edie, we're talking about transitioning and detransitioning. Continue your thoughts, just right in the middle of what you were saying.
Okay, I just had to, since there's the three of us are sitting here, and I was intently listening to Sarah, and my words from now on are in no means any disrespect to what I'm going to talk about, because I have a hard time sometimes comprehending all this stuff.
Right.
So Sarah was born a man.
Correct.
And in conversation today, he was,
No, it's okay.
You're
You're
going
fine.
to mess up with the pronouns, and I apologize to anybody out there. So she is talking about a person named Chris Beck, who was born a male and was a Navy SEAL.
And then transitioned to a female.
And as I took that to mean, yes, but then
now she is regretting it.
Is regretting it.
She
which
says, or I guess he says, I was used. I was very naive. I was in a really bad way. I got taken advantage of. I got propagandized.
Okay, that's what I think is interesting in this whole concept of the transgender world, talking about groomers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression that the groomer was trying to get the young children, as they are now, as I understand them, male and female young children. Somebody's trying to influence them that they're not of that sexual orientation. Am I
right? No, you're right. You're right. You're dead on. Continue.
Okay, and then I have a feeling that the folks like Sarah and Chris, who wants to go back to being a man who was a woman, they're upset about something.
They feel used.
They don't want to be part of this so-called groomer situation.
Right. She says that she's a part of a group called Gays Against Groomers.
And does it come in then the homosexuality and the pedophilia world enter into all of this big mess?
Crab pot. What's your question, essentially?
Well, I'm saying, is that part of their
agenda?
Of their being not the agenda of the, I'm going to refer to them as the left.
Right.
Is they want to try to influence the young children that they're not of their. Am I making any sense?
No, well, it's a lot. It's like you say, it's a crab pot, but you are making sense. So Sarah is part of an activist group that is called Gays Against Groomers.
Okay.
And what they try and do is they try and try and be a part of the solution of protecting children from.
Okay, and I think I would fall under that category.
Well, you and I both would, right? And so the thing is that unfortunately what's happened now is that so many in the LGBT community are giving the community itself a bad name because they're out there defending these predators. And
that's another word that
which
pops
is what
up into my
right. And so unfortunately what happens is that they get painted with a broad brush because there are people in that community who are, protecting predators. So people like Sarah and others are out there, joining the cause, what you and I are fighting for, to protect children and to protect their rights as children from predators and from the left. So it's a big hodgepodge. Edie, I guess we're just going to have you back on another time.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. But thank you for letting me, and in my conversation with you about, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I don't know.
You've offended anyone.
Okay, well, I mean, I just
that camera died, the camera that I had on you, so I turned you on this
so
one.
I get a
nice
full,
wide shot there,
so they can see where all the booze is, and I'm going to go back there and have me a drink.
That new camera, I got to get a cord for it so I can plug it in. It was running on battery. Edie, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you. Did you like the show today? If you did, make sure that you click like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and click that bell notification icon. We want to see you back. It was nice to see Brian this morning come in, and he started throwing poo, and then now he's sending us super chats. He subscribed to the channel.
Yeah,
we turned him into a friend. Joni Rankin, Jamie Marie Pope, Tolly Owens, Ann Henry, Chris Morrill, Rare Camellia, all of our friends.
All familiar names, yes.
Lots of familiar names and lots of new ones.
Yeah.
We love it. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification icon. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Elizabeth Fanning Press, nice to see you. Tomorrow morning, same time, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central. The Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire. Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.